Let's talk iPhone 14 Pro and more importantly, the iOS update 16.0.3. They got the big one right, which we'll talk about, but there's a lot of other little things that I'm not used to with iOS going wrong that they really haven't, and that's disappointing. And, they did get the battery life correct. They've gotten that back on par with what we had with the iPhone 13 Pro, and it's a good thing. They better have. Because it was getting close to where you'd be really disappointed in Apple if they came out with a new device that already didn't offer a whole heck of a lot in terms of design, that then offered less battery life than the previous model. You could have a situation where you're getting 9-10 hours of screen on time with your iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max and getting very much not that, kind of 5.5-6 hours with the iPhone 14 with bad battery drain as well. So they solved that with 16.0.3. They solved it in a big way. I went from getting, like I said, that 5.5-6 hours of screen on time back to the ridiculous, to the point where you almost can't calculate the screen on time that you're getting with the iPhone 14 Pro. This when I was at my parents' over the weekend, I was staying overnight. I didn't have a lightning connector with me, and I had a wireless charger. I gave the wireless charger to my Pixel 7 Pro, and I let this thing go overnight. So Sunday morning, it came off the charger, lasted the entire day Sunday, checking fantasy teams, scores, texting, whatever, a couple phone calls in there as well. Everything was fine. Went to bed, woke up the next day. That next day, recorded 2 10-minute YouTube videos, as well as work calls, texting, YouTube Studio, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the whole smack. That night, when I went to put it on the charger, 49% battery life left. 49%. So that's back, and at least staves off the anger that I'd feel inside for this device that I would normally have if they hadn't done that. Because we're coming up on a month of this device, and I was getting a little sick of the battery life. So 16.0.3 brings back that outstanding battery life on the iPhone 14. But there's still a lot of work left to do to make this the clean Apple experience that we're all used to. I've had a few problems. Let me know in the comment section down below if you're having these problems as well. Before we get to that, if you're not subscribed and I keep showing up in your recommended, please consider tussling that subscribe button. If you've been enjoying the videos, the pumpkin wasn't free. So the other things that they have to clean up, a lot of stuff with the lock screen. I turned off always on display because I feel like it's miserable. I didn't like it. I feel like it was uninspired. It was sloppy. It was not something that we'd normally get from Apple, which is very disappointing. But the notifications just are still a disaster. I thought with iOS 16, them rolling those notifications on the bottom here would clean it up. But it hasn't done that because it hasn't worked as well as I'd think. The first thing is this. It keeps switching back and forth randomly between me seeing the notifications, which is the setting that I have, and numbered notifications. So where it just at the bottom, it just says 1 notification, 2 notification, whatever it is. And I don't change anything. It just switches back and forth freely. I've had another bug with this where it'll show me a new notification, but then stop. And I'll know I'm getting other notifications. I'm getting text messages. I'm getting YouTube notifications. And the screen will light up like if there's a new message coming in. But the notification, actual roll or Rolodex there, never changes. Doesn't change. The last message that it decided I should get is the one that's there, and the new ones are just, I have to actually log into the phone, I have to unlock it and look at it in order to get those notifications. Unacceptable for Apple. Unacceptable. And this idea, and the way I think of it is that they knew this release was kind of boring. They knew the design was kind of meh. They knew Dynamic Island wasn't what they were hyping it up to be, and people would soon find that out. So they put stuff in, which is ridiculous, by the way. Which is ridiculous that they think that putting stuff in like an always-on display is really pushing the envelope there. But I guess for them it was. They put in the always-on display. They put in some other stuff that was just inelegant. It wasn't Apple usual design. And I think we might do a separate video on that because I think there's a few things at play there. There's no real creative direction at Apple anymore with these devices. They're just kind of trading off their past. But now if you take away the clean iOS experience and the relatively bug-free iOS experience and the experience that most people have where you usually don't see how the sausage is made. It just works, right? That's what people, and I've said this before, people on Twitter kind of get uppity when Apple fans say, oh, it just works, and they kind of make fun of that. What it means is you don't see any of these processes taking place. You don't see these usual hiccups and things that you know are going on in the back end of iOS 16. It all happens, it's all intuitive, and you don't feel like you're using an operating system. That's not the case anymore, especially with the lock screen, especially with the always-on display. I've had problems emailing videos, using OneDrive, using iCloud, and using MailDrop. It'll work 50% of the time. Sometimes I'll send a video to MailDrop. It'll work and it'll get through the email. Sometimes it won't. So there's iCloud stuff in there as well. I've had the Mail app issues where I have this one I'm going to show you now. This has been going on forever and it annoys me to no end. This is a draft of an email. I title the emails that I send to my own account, I number them for thumbnails, video, stuff like that. So this is a draft of a video. We'll go ahead and pull it up. It's okay. You can see the email address. 359, you see it's a draft. I could delete that draft 10 times over and over and over again. And sure enough, by the end of the day, when I go back into the Mail app, it'll be at the bottom there. It never goes away. And that's something that I've had. So if you've had a draft of an email that you left or you sent or something, or you didn't have to send it and you canceled it, you're going to see it, if you're having the problem that I have, over and over and over again in there. Non-Apple stuff. Non-Apple stuff that keeps happening. I don't like the fact that the notifications are inconsistent, and that's on top of the fact that I just don't like the notifications as they are, even when they work right. Especially if you're getting junk texts. How many junk texts you get in this time of year? How much nonsense spam that you get? Other notifications that you get. It's just a mash. You see 3 of them together. You see nothing but a jumble of letters and words and numbers, and you can't decipher it from heads or tails. I thought that they were cleaning up the notifications that were already a disaster on iPhone for years and years and years. I thought that maybe they were giving us something legible and usable for a change, and they didn't. They somehow made it worse. I don't get it, but it's got to be fixed. 16.1 is coming out soon. I guess they thought that because the battery life was the selling point of this device, for the most part, last year and this year, that they had to sort that first. And so maybe they put all their resources and all their efforts into making sure they could secure the battery life of these devices again. And now in 16.1, they'll turn to some of these more annoying things. But there's got to be updates there. You know, we make fun of Samsung with these problems. We make fun of Google with these problems. Let me tell you something. Google's release was pretty smooth for the Pixel 7 Pro. Samsung is working constantly. We're going to have an update on the S22 Ultra tomorrow when we compare it to the 7 Pro. Samsung's been working hard. They got a whole list of bug issues that they're solving over and over and over again. So Apple, in order to keep that edge, in order to keep that appearance that they're the ones that handle software the best and they're the smoothest experience, and these kind of problems don't happen on iOS and all the rest of it, they got some work to do. And they better get to work. Because month is out now. This device has been out a month. Not pleased with my iOS experience in 2022 on the iPhone 14 Pro so far. I'm glad the only reason why I'm not screaming and jumping up and down and I'm having blood pressure issues is because they did solve the battery life stuff. I got my battery life back, which is the main reason right now that you're using this phone that quite frankly feels uninspired. But the rest of it feels uninspired too, especially that always on display. Let me know what you think below, what your experience has been with your iPhone 14 Pro. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.